They're taking the donations in Tennessee. Red Cross, FEMA, TEMA have come in and confiscated all of the donations that were given to the local high schools. They're taking control of additional volunteer schools. And if anyone wants access to the donations that they were given for help, they have to go through an approval process. All monetary donations taken and moved into a TEMA account, which means that they won't even be used fully for the Helene disaster. It's like they're turning local relief efforts into a mess of bureaucracy. When did it get this bad? Because FEMA is supposed to come in, Red Cross is supposed to come in and hand you water and give you donations and help and be there for you, but instead they're confiscating it and arresting people who are actually trying to help. Yes, the volunteers, they've been told to leave and can't even help people anymore unless they're trained by the United Way. The same people who were already out there making a difference, and now they're being pushed out and told to go home or they will be arrested. This is a total insult to all of the local volunteers who were doing the real work before these bureaucratic agencies stepped in and took over.
Do me a favor and go ahead and hit that like button. It will help out this video. It will help out this channel. And share this video on social media if you have time, because we need to spread the word about what's going on. Because if we don't, no one else will. And I'm hearing more and more stories pour out of Tennessee and North Carolina about these government agencies coming in and confiscating the donations, confiscating all of the supplies, and they are making matters much, much worse. I mean, really think about it. If you just survived this storm, if you lost everything, and by the graces of God, you make it to a donation center, don't you want some food and water? Do you want to have to go through a process of signing all types of documents and having to go through a waiting process so the government can figure out what they decide to give you? You know, the people who are donating these goods and supplies, that's not what they intended to be done with the supplies and goods that they're donating. You see, before the government agencies came in, they had these centers set up, and if you made it there, guess what? We'll give you some food, we'll give you some water. If you make it there and you need help, they'll give you the help that they can give. If you make it there and maybe you need some gas or you need this or that, they'll do what they can to help you right there on the spot. But now these government agencies have come in and they're slowing down the process. And, you know, every second matters in a situation like this. We're over a week away from the storm. There's still people unaccounted for. There's still people stranded and trapped in the mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina. And listen, folks, I'm starting to hear that some of the areas along the border of like Tennessee and North Carolina in the mountains, I'm hearing that it's really, really bad there. The media is mainly talking about North Carolina. Most of us are mainly focused on North Carolina. But I'm hearing about areas in Tennessee that are absolutely devastated. And they're not really getting any media coverage. And no one's really talking about it because there's no internet or power or any way for those people to really get into communication with the outside world hardly. So I'll be looking into that, and I'll be bringing you all more information about that in the near future, I can assure you. But yeah, we've now reached a stage where I woke up this morning and I started looking at all of these news articles that are pouring out. The mainstream media has now been given their marching orders from certain politicians, and now they're labeling all of this as a conspiracy. Even though you can see the devastation with your own eyes, even though you can hear from the people who have lost everything, the media is telling us not to believe them anymore. They're telling us not to believe our own eyes. Don't believe anything. Believe the media. We'll tell you, what we want to tell you, and we want you to believe it. So now, and we see this with every disaster. We just saw this with Springfield, Ohio, and the situation happening there. The media is about to come in and they're going to be our worst enemy. Instead of helping spread awareness about what's going on, they're going to try to combat us, and they're going to label us as, conspiracy theorists and people spreading misinformation, simply because we're spreading the word that is being spread by the people on the ground. So we've officially reached that point in this situation. And it's crazy because they came out themselves and said, hey, FEMA has run out of money for the hurricane season. And then when you actually show people, hey, look, this is what they said, FEMA has run out of money, then they call you a conspiracy theorist. It's like they don't even want people to believe the information that they're providing. They want to, it's like they're forced to have to tell you some of this information. But then when you put a spotlight on or a magnifying glass on what they said, they say you're a conspiracy theorist just for acknowledging what they told us. Okay? I don't know how much money FEMA has. I didn't tell Mayorkas to come out and tell the world that FEMA is out of money for the people affected by hurricanes. They did that. But now we're conspiracy theorists for acknowledging it, right? But as I said, more and more stories are pouring out about goods and supplies being confiscated, people being stopped from helping. There's this one realtor in North Carolina who's been speaking out a lot. She tried to have an entire pallet filled with chainsaws delivered because, listen, some of these areas, the roadways are blocked, the roads are wiped out. Chainsaws are needed to literally access, certain ways. Sometimes you got to get trees off of buildings to look for bodies, trees off of cars, you name it. Chainsaws are very important. So she wanted to donate all of these chainsaws, and FEMA tried to intercept the donation so they can basically take it for themselves. And this is what happens. When these government agencies come in, they take all of the money that people have donated, they take all of the goods, the water, the canned goods, and they take it to themselves, and then they divvy it out, but they never give out as much as what they receive, okay? Some of the money they receive, it will all of a sudden be funneled to Ukraine and Israel, who knows where. Some of the goods they receive, the people in North Carolina will never see it. We saw this happen in Maui. We saw this happen plenty of times with other disasters, okay? So they come in and kind of hoard everything to themselves, and then they give people crumbs. And they want you to be thankful to the government. They want you to think, oh, it's the government providing these chainsaws. It's the government providing this food and this water and this money. When in reality, it's just your regular everyday citizens. They want you to think that you need them more than what you do. Because one thing we've learned is that when, in a time of crisis, if you can't depend on the government, you can depend on your neighbors. At least here in America, I know we're divided right now, but in a time of crisis, we come together, and that's a beautiful thing to see. But for now, I want you all to hear from this realtor who's been trying to donate all types of stuff, and the government has been getting in the way, but it's better that you all hear from her instead of me. After she says what she has to say, I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Here's your update from Western North Carolina and our Helene help operations. First of all, some really dumb rules have been implemented, y'all. One of our big shelters and distribution centers, the health department told the refugees, those that are stranded, who've lost everything, that they could not use the shelter showers without flip-flops. Dumbest thing I have ever heard. These people have lost everything, and you won't let them take a hot shower without flip-flops? Oh! Well, when I got that call, thank you, friends, and thank you to Larry and Concord who hooked us up at the nail supply place, because we sent 18,000 pairs of flip-flops up to the shelter this morning, where one of my girlfriends took a trailer up so people can take a shower. Those are the kind of rules that don't help in a time of absolute survival disaster. That's number one. Number two is, if you're reading about FEMA online and wondering if they're really a pain in the tail, I can confirm it is true. I tried to send in a pallet of chainsaws 2 days ago, and we had to divert it somewhere away from FEMA because they wanted to confiscate. FEMA, those ain't your chainsaws. Our mountain people are much better with them than y'all are, although I'm sure there's some very fine people that work for FEMA. I'm talking about the organization. But those saws need to be in the hands of the guys on ATVs down in the holler and up on these trees where there are blocked roads where we can get access to our neighbors who are still stranded. This is not a one-time little 5-minute storm. There are people that we have not gotten to yet, and we want to get to them. That's why those chainsaws are up there. So fine, we're going to go around you, FEMA, and don't try to get in the way of North Carolina mountain people when we are trying to take care of each other. You should also know I had a shipment trying to go in last night that got stopped because somebody wanted to inventory it. So we diverted that one elsewhere to get it into the hands of an apartment complex of seniors that had been neglected. So thank you to the friend of mine who alerted me to that complex, and to the other friend who took this load up. And by the way, got to spend the night at the apartment of somebody who was just willing to help out. The biggest thing you have to know here is that neighbors are looking after neighbors. And when FEMA's in the way, don't think you're going to stop us, because that's basically like a Satan roadblock, and God will find a way because God always wins. The other thing I want y'all to know is that we do have support from all over the country. We've got NYPD, fire departments, we've got linemen and emergency personnel, and we in North Carolina are very grateful that you have chosen to come help us. So thank you to them, but boo to the government agencies that want to get in the way. And by the way, got to add one more thing. The announcement today that this little tiny piddling amount of money is going to go to people impacted by this storm. Are you kidding me? I told y'all before, you cannot eat money or drink money. Why are we not seeing massive supply drops come in? And I mean massive. The government is run by my taxpayer dollars and your taxpayer dollars. They are a net consumer, not a producer. So whatever they're throwing out there comes from me. As a taxpaying citizen, DC, quit trying to buy us off, because you can't buy us for $750 anyway. How about you send in the water we need, send in some ATVs, send in some more chainsaws and fuel, and let us take care of our people and get out of the way, because Western North Carolina is going to pull through this, whether you get in our way or not.
Now, even though we're spending a lot of our time talking about the botched response to this storm, even though we're focusing our efforts mainly on exposing the shady stuff that is going on, I want everyone watching to keep this in mind. Yes, not everything is being done to help these people, but of course you have the volunteers, you have your everyday citizens and neighbors who are out there helping, but also you have local law enforcement, you have local emergency services, you got the fire departments, you got linemen coming in from all over, you got independent search and rescue teams, independent investigators, all types of people who are risking their lives to help. So I don't want to lose sight of that. Yes, the response to the storm could be better. Yes, we're going to continue to criticize those people who need to be criticized and certain agencies that need to be criticized. But there's also a lot of people out there, putting their lives on the line, doing everything they can to help. So we have to acknowledge that as well. And even though this story is mainly doom and gloom, there are also some feel-good stories coming out of this tragedy as well. And I want to bring you all one of those stories really quickly about a dog that was found 20 feet up in a tree after this storm hit. This dog was found in Tennessee, and it looks kind of like my dog. Let's go ahead and dive into this story. Firefighters get calls to help cats stuck in trees all the time. But because of the catastrophic flooding from Helene, the fire crew in Kingsport, Tennessee, responded to a call this week to help get a dog who was stranded in a tree. Working with a K-9 search unit from the Murfreesboro Police Department, the dog was found alive and stranded about 20 feet up in the tree 3 days after the floods, according to the Kingsport Fire Department. The tree was near the Nolichucky River in Washington County, which flooded during Helene's historic rainfall, leading to deaths and dozens of rescues in the region. More than 10 people have died in northeastern Tennessee from Helene's devastating impacts, including 2 deaths in Washington County as well. The firefighters were so excited to bring the dog down and to get her checked for a microchip, hopefully reuniting her with her family. I bet she's chipped, said one firefighter. Good girl, several of the firefighters said. Hey, puppy dog, as they rescued the dog. Despite some harrowing rescues and hard days after Helene's flooding, the firefighters had a sense of humor about this rescue with a very happy ending. Someone nearby asked if they often get calls for dogs and trees. The crew laughed and said sometimes we get calls for cats, but never for dogs. The fire department said that the dog has been turned over to the local animal control, and now the dog will be reunited with its family on Thursday. So, I mean, like I said, this looks like my dog Piglet. So this story definitely stuck out to me. And in a time like this, of course, there's a lot of negative. And of course, we can focus a lot of our attention on the negative. And we kind of have to. None of us want to. I definitely don't want to, but we have to in order to spread the word about a lot of the people and a lot of the situations that they've been put in. But at the same time, it's good to hear these feel-good stories as well. You know, it boosts morale and it lets you know that, hey, you know, there's still light on the other side. I mean, even though everything sucks right now, even though, you know, people have lost everything, there's still stories out there that make you smile and make you feel warm inside. And this story definitely did that for me. Hopefully it did it for you all. Let me know what you think about this, though, down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.